This clip is brought to you by SaveWithConrad.com.
He works in Japan. He hurts his bicep again. And ultimately, he's going to wind up getting released. And a lot of people are going to chalk it up to a cost-cutting measure. And don't forget, this is pre-Nitro. So Eric Bischoff and company are trying to load up the roster with guys like Chris Benoit and Eddie Guerrero and Dean Malenko. He's trying to, sort of load the wagon, if you will, for Nitro. But it's fun to think about, what if the bicep injury didn't happen? What if Steve Austin really got to stretch his wings on Nitro? Man, the whole wrestling business could have looked a whole lot different, right?
Well, it would look a lot different if he had been able to do what he wanted to do.
Right.
That sounds negative. I don't mean it to be negative whatsoever. He knew what he did well. He knew what he brought to the game, and he needed a platform to be able to express that. And considering with all those massive egos coming in and that payroll getting bigger and bigger and bigger, I don't know that Eric would have taken a chance on Steve. I don't know that he wouldn't, but there's no guarantee that he would. We got lucky. We got lucky in WWE when we got him.
Dave Meltzer had this to say: WCW did fire Steve Austin on September 15th. Austin, 30, was considered for years as perhaps the best young wrestler in the United States. His career languished this past year, almost to the point he wasn't even spoken of, much like his former tag team partner, Brian Pillman, who as a wrestler had made a lot of money by signing good contracts, but had great careers ruined by a WCW organization that has been both unwilling and unable to get any wrestlers over. Austin had been in the doghouse with WCW management over the past year over a reputation for not exactly keeping quiet with his discontent about how he was used. And for those involved, they saw it as a cost-cutting measure, seeing the $200,000 or so figure he was earning per year while not being involved in any significant program as perhaps wasted money. While on a tour in New Japan in June, Austin tore his tricep and has been out of action since, and is believed to be about 6 weeks being able to return from action. Of course, this paints WCW as a real class organization for firing a guy while he was injured when he suffered the injury on a tour the company sent him on. He would continue: Austin's main problem appeared to be in the cliquish nature of WCW. He didn't hang with the right crowd. When the Hogan camp got into power, they dismissed Austin as a highly paid wrestler who was a good worker with no charisma. And in their view of wrestling, work rate meant next to nothing. The Hogan clique basically consists of WWFers from the mid-'80s when wrestling was hot, and thus could dismiss any wrestler who came along later as being quote unquote unable to draw money. He wasn't in the Flair clique either, so nobody spoke up for his work rate on the inside of the meetings. As a result, Austin was given little chance to show his stuff after his career-ending injury of his main opponent, Ricky Steamboat. Austin then suffered a knee injury, which kept him out for a few months before he was plugged into a new program. And then, of course, he went to Japan and suffered the tricep tear. So politics and wrestling, man, they've been there since day one, probably not going anywhere anytime soon. Right, Jim?
No, they're not going anywhere. We'll be talking about things of this nature for years to come, because there's always intriguing behind the scenes stories. But Steve was not a good politician. He was very outspoken, and he was very clear-headed about what he wanted. And then so sometimes, because it's happened to me many times, where he would get impatient because you didn't see his vision. And that's just a matter of continuing to communicate. I was one of those guys that saw a lot in him. And I was also one of those guys that was going to keep listening, keep trying to understand him. And that's why we developed such a strong relationship that lasts to this day, because he trusts me. He trusted me then when he didn't trust anybody else. And to this very day, we're still, we're as close as you can be with him living in Nevada, me living in Florida, Homa.
I like that.
Hey folks, it's time to take your podcast game to the next level. And you certainly want to get your almighty push. My God, we have to have a push, right? We'll get that over to adfreeshows.com. Now, I'm telling you, if you're a fan of Grilling JR, adfreeshows.com has the entire episode library, and it's got no ads, zero ads, zilch, none. ad-free and on video starting at just $9. Did you hear what I said? $9. You spend more than that at Starbucks, for God's sakes. 2 mornings. But that's not all, folks. We got tons of bonus content, including my after-hours roundtable, where drinking was involved with Eric and Tony. You simply will not find a better value in all of wrestling. Hey, look, don't make me go red ass, because by God, you know I will. Hurry over to adfreeshows.com right now and sign up. And I thank you.
Was he on your radar immediately? I mean,
yeah.
I guess we should add some context. You know, in September of '95, you have not yet assumed the role of talent relations, but you're still in some meetings and whatnot. Are you bringing his name up, or what's the rap on him from other parties? You told us what Vince thought, that maybe he was too outspoken or what have you.
Well, I think the reputation that Steve had, he's too outspoken. I just positioned it like this to Vince. If we got a great talent here, which I truly believe that we have the potential of having a great talent in Steve. He's 30 years old, something like that.
Yeah, 30.
I said, hell, he's a huge diamond in the rough. To me, if I were in your position, Vince, I would do all I could to learn how to communicate with Steve and earn his trust. And so, because I think in the long run, it's going to pay off dividends. And we got lucky and it did. So it was just a matter of Steve fitting in socially. Like I said, hell, if he could dress by himself, you'd love that. But that's not to say he wasn't personable and fun to talk to. He only lets you in so far. And if you're a good listener, you know when your audience has turned your ass off. And so sometimes people could say that he had unplugged. He was done.
Let me ask you this about Austin. It's another one of those hypotheticals that I know you don't always enjoy, but just humor me for a minute. You know, a lot of people talk
about. I will, Conrad. I love you, Conrad. It's holidays. and look at those. My God, those chinks. They're wonderful. They look like little mistletoe.
Oh gosh.
Did I tell you I have a mistletoe belt buckle?
Do you really?
No.
Oh, okay. I was going to say, I bet that comes in handy, but I don't know that you should wear it on TV day.
Yeah, I don't wear it to Publix.
Yeah, just in case.
Yeah, you know.
So, you know, a lot of people have debated over the years, especially when they talk about, you know, the mid 80s, Hogan or McMahon, you know, who really did it? You couldn't have done it without each other, blah, blah, blah. Now let's fast forward a decade later. If Austin is not fired by WCW and the NWO still becomes a thing and they get white hot and they're just thumping WWE in every possible metric,
yeah,
and Austin never comes along because he's on the other channel, maybe he's not Stone Cold, maybe he's just languishing in the mid card, but you don't have a Stone Cold Steve Austin in your back pocket. Do you think Vince still could have won the thing in the end without Austin?
Well, it's hard to say, Conrad, but you know, a lot of talents really evolved and they took giant steps. You could almost see it every week at getting better at what they do. You know, we had a young Chris Jericho. We had Dwayne Johnson. He became pretty good. You know, Triple H became a great heel. Shawn Michaels made his gallant return. We got a lot of good pieces. Steve wasn't the only piece in this puzzle, but he was the biggest piece that pulled the wagon that a lot of those guys jumped on and to ignite their careers. So it's a great question. You got to hope that one of those guys I mentioned is going to take the ball and run with it like Austin did. Austin just took the ball out of everybody's hands and said, I'm the man. I'm the guy here. And if I'm the only one that can see it, I don't give a shit. Just watch what I do. I remember one of the most intense conversations we had one time was about him turning babyface. God damn, he hated that. And he cussed me and he said, that's not going to happen. I'm not going for it. I said, oh, Jesus Christ, you're not going to go for it. Why are you here? Why are you here? I know why you're here. Let me answer that question. You're here to make money. Right or wrong? Yep. I said, well, I was looking through some old records the other day, and I gave him some numbers, some merchandise numbers of what Hogan earned back in the day. And so it's been years later. The information was obsolete, but it was accurate. And I said, so you don't want that T-shirt money. You don't want that no bump money. I said, I know you're smarter than that. I know you're smarter than that. That doesn't make any sense, Steve. I said, and here's the beautiful part about it. The way you work, you don't beg off much. You don't do typical heel shit. So I just felt like, I said, you're missing a boat here, man. And so then I remembered the checks were getting ready to come out. He was getting hot. The checks are coming out for that quarter. And I asked the check guy, I said, bring me a list of all the royalty checks. Because I want to congratulate guys. And I said, in certain cases, I might want to present them the check myself. And Austin got $1 million check for selling fucking T-shirts. Austin 316s, the original. And I said, ain't you glad we had that conversation that day? Because you just made an extra $1 million. That's a lot of money for a poor kid in Texas who was eating potatoes and trying to make a living in Memphis. So, but he was hard-headed. But he got it. And then he and Rock were the greatest. They understood how they got paid better than anybody else. And they would ask good questions, and they would, participate and so forth. And it motivated them. Because like I said, Austin had all those shirts that were designed early. He did them all. Those are all his deals. And I don't know that he would have had it any other way, Conrad. He might get a rough drawing. He might get one of your guys furnishing, here's 4 pieces of sample art.
Yeah.
And then move on from there. But goddamn, man, he touched everything he handled. He touched, like Vince does. Every phase of the business that Steve was involved in, he had some input, significant input, as a matter of fact. And that's what he'd been working for all along. Just humor me, share these ideas. And that's what he did. But it's because he learned to trust a few people. He learned to trust his own judgment, and his gut instincts are pretty damn right. We've told this story before on this show. When he was going to turn heel at WrestleMania 17, I said, I think it's crazy. To me, it's illogical.
Yeah.
And his response to me was, I think we owe it to him. He wants to do it so badly. He wants to be a heel so badly for whatever reason. He thinks he's going to have more fun being a heel. And then he became a comedic character. Nobody wanted to hate him. And that's what's the big issue. I've heard a lot of guys talk about that lately. Are there any true heels left in wrestling? I'm sure there are, but there are not many that don't work for the pop as opposed to work for the heat. And it's a big difference psychologically and how you approach the game. So, but he could try as hard as he wanted to. He ain't going to get no cheers of significance or boos of significance after that turn. It just was not in the cards.
So Austin finally has his big WrestleMania moment. And you got to remember, this is a guy who just a handful of months prior to this was fired by FedEx from WCW. And
he was fired via FedEx, but he didn't work for FedEx.
Correct. Correct. And this is a guy with real, honestly, humble beginnings, starts in the dying world class promotion, winds up living on raw potatoes in Memphis, ultimately gets fired from WCW. And now he's getting a win at WrestleMania. This is a big deal. It took 10 minutes and 8 seconds before Austin got the win. Meltzer would say both guys worked hard, but there was no heat and the finish died live. The work itself was good in spots and slightly off in other spots. The physicality was there, but the audience was not yet in love with either one of these characters. So as a result, Meltzer gave it 2 stars, but still getting a win at WrestleMania, it's not a bad day.
No, it's a good day. He made it's his first stop in the journey. And we're not keeping track of win-loss records. We're keeping track of pay stubs. And I guarantee he got probably the biggest payday he ever got in his life was at that WrestleMania. Even though he was in a prelim level match.
Yeah.
I'm sure he still made more money that night
than any other one match ever, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
But also,
I got it back in Oklahoma. I've got, when I cleaned my office out in Stanford, I'm a collector hoarder. I was going through some shit there the other day, last time I was home, and I found all the pay sheets.
Oh,
for like, I don't know, many years that I didn't know him had. They've been still in the same stack, same rubber band around them, same manila envelope or whatever folder. And it's pretty cool to go back and look at some of those things to see what I paid guys. And
talk about a collector's item. That's cool to have. Good for you.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. I'm coming. I think my collecting days are drawing near.
Yeah.
Drawing near. Yeah.
Hey, it's Conrad Thompson. Thanks for checking out the podcast here on YouTube. Be sure to hit the subscribe button and the notifications bell so you get a notice anytime we upload some new content. And go save yourself some money right now. If you're in a 30-year loan or you have credit card debt, it's not a matter of if I can save you money. It's a matter of how much. Find out right now for free at SaveWithConrad.com.